Ever feel like the world's about to be flipped on its head? And I don't mean in a coin toss sort of way,
Mhm.
more like a whole new game board kind of deal.
Yeah,
That's the vibe I'm getting from Mustafa Suleiman's The Coming Wave.
right.
And frankly, it's both exhilarating and a little unsettling.
Totally.
So buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving headfirst into the wave of AI, synthetic biology, and robotics that's about to break.
That's a big one.
It feels huge.
What's fascinating is that Suleiman doesn't just give us a glimpse into the future. He throws open the doors and marches us right through.
Okay, so no tiptoeing around.
Nope.
He's not messing around.
He's arguing these technologies aren't just evolving. They're about to fundamentally reshape our world.
Real?
And fast.
Okay.
We're talking within our lifetime, not some distant sci-fi future.
Okay, so a total transformation.
Yes.
I'm trying to picture it. What kind of historical context does Suleiman give us for this kind of upheaval? I mean, technology has always moved forward.
It has. Yeah, it has, but he connects it beautifully to historical patterns, but with a modern twist.
Okay.
Remember the Luddites? Those weavers who smashed up the newfangled machine?
Oh, yeah, they were not fans of progress.
They weren't just being anti-progress.
Right.
They feared, understandably, for their livelihoods.
Of course.
Their place in the world.
Yeah.
Suleiman uses this as a launch pad to show how technology has always had this unstoppable,
Yeah.
almost tidal wave quality to it,
Yeah.
often leaving existing structures and ways of life behind.
Right, and that fear of being swept away, of losing control, it's as relatable now as it was then.
Absolutely.
But we're not just talking about looms replacing weavers, are we? This feels different.
It does.
It's bigger somehow.
It is bigger.
Okay, lay it on me.
The speed, the sheer scale of what's coming,
Yeah.
it dwarfs anything we've seen before.
Really?
The printing press, the steam engine,
Game changers, no
those
doubt.
were game changers, no doubt.
Right.
But AI designing proteins in labs,
Okay, now we're talking...
robots capable of carrying out assassinations.
Whoa, hold on. Okay, yeah, you know you're listening to a deep dive about the future when that's on the table.
Right.
So Seligman is arguing this containment problem, how do we keep a lid on all this, is far more complex this time around.
It is. It really is.
What makes this wave different? What makes it so hard to control?
It's not just one thing.
Okay.
It's a confluence of factors.
Give me an example.
Think about the internet.
Okay.
It took decades for its impact to be truly felt.
Yeah.
But now it permeates every aspect of our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
AI and synthetic biology,
Right.
they're evolving at the speed of software updates,
Wow.
changing the game faster than our ability to even write the rules.
So instead of generations gradually adapting to new technologies, we're facing a future where the ground rules could shift beneath our feet multiple times within our lifetimes.
Exactly.
That must make it near impossible to plan for,
It does.
let alone manage.
It's really hard. And to make matters worse, it's not just the speed. It's the potential for what Suleiman calls asymmetric risks.
Okay, asymmetric risks sounds ominous.
It does, doesn't it?
What exactly does that mean?
Remember the WannaCry cyber attack from a few years back?
Ugh, don't remind me. That was not a fun time.
Crippled systems globally,
Yeah,
brought hospitals to their knees.
it was a mess.
Now imagine that kind of attack amplified by AI,
Oh, no.
able to learn and adapt in real time,
Oh, no.
exploiting vulnerabilities we didn't even know existed.
Wow.
It's not just data breaches anymore.
Right.
It's about destabilizing entire systems with a few keystrokes.
So a single bad actor with enough knowledge and access to these tools could wreak havoc on a scale we haven't even begun to fathom.
It's a scary thought.
It really is. And we all know what happens when we just hand over incredibly powerful tools and hope for the best.
Right. Doesn't usually work out well, does it?
No, not really. So is Suleiman suggesting that this tech is inherently uncontrollable?
I see what you mean.
Or is there a way to navigate this safely?
He's not fatalistic, but he's also not naive.
Okay.
He argues that our old playbooks, government regulations, treaties, they were designed for a slower, more predictable world.
Yeah.
He points out that the organization tasked with monitoring biological weapons,
Kind of a big deal.
kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Has a smaller budget than your average McDonald's.
Seriously. It's a chilling thought.
It really is.
Yeah.
If we can't even properly fund something as critical as bioweapons monitoring, are we seriously kidding ourselves thinking we're prepared for what's coming?
It's a good question.
That McDonald's comparison, though bleakly humorous, is pretty terrifying.
It underscores a critical point. While we're busy debating the ethics of AI chatbots, the technology itself is outpacing our ability to even comprehend let alone
Wow.
control its
Right.
potential consequences.
Yeah.
And we haven't even touched on how AI and automation might upend the job market,
Oh, right.
or how gene editing could exacerbate existing
And a
inequalities.
lot.
We've got a perfect storm brewing historical patterns of unstoppable technological advancement, coupled with insanely powerful new technologies,
Yeah.
and a global system struggling to keep up.
Mhm.
It's a lot to process.
It is, and we're just getting started.
That's right.
We'll unpack it all in part 2.
All right, everybody, stay with us. Welcome back.
Let's jump right back in.
Last time, we talked about this impending wave of technology,
Yeah, the big one.
drawing some unsettling parallels to the Luddites
Right, those weavers.
and their fear of being replaced.
It's a very human fear.
It made me think,
Mm-hmm.
are we all just destined to become weavers in a world of automated looms?
It's a good question.
Or is there more to the story?
There's always more to the story.
I'm ready to dive into the specifics.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's unpack the tech itself.
Love it.
What
Yeah.
are we really talking about when we say AI or synthetic biology?
Yeah, those are big terms.
What do these things actually look like in the wild?
Well, let's start with artificial intelligence. When you hear AI, you might think of your smartphone assistant
Right.
or those customer service chatbots that always seem to misunderstand your questions.
Always.
But what Suleiman is talking about is on another level.
Okay.
He calls it artificial capable intelligence, or ACI.
ACI.
And it's all about AI that can set its sights on complex goals and actually achieve them in the real world with minimal human intervention.
ACI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's new.
It's a mouthful.
I'll admit, I'm intrigued, but also a little terrified.
It's understandable.
I'm picturing some supercomputer taking over the world.
Right.
Give me a real-world example of what this ACI could actually do.
Okay, imagine this. You give an ACI 100 grand, set it loose on Amazon,
Okay.
and give it a simple instruction.
Like what?
Make $1 million in the next 6 months.
Okay.
Now, this isn't some sci-fi movie scenario where the AI hacks into banks or takes over people's minds.
Okay.
This is about an AI that can analyze market trends,
Okay.
identify a niche product,
Yeah.
source suppliers, optimize listings, run targeted ad campaigns,
Wow.
maybe even handle customer service,
No kidding.
all without human intervention.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, an AI entrepreneur that puts us all out of business.
Well, it's not quite that simple,
Okay.
but it does raise some interesting questions.
I'm not sure if I should be amazed or terrified.
It's both, isn't it?
I guess so.
On one hand, it's awe-inspiring to think about the potential of ACI to solve complex problems,
Yeah.
boost efficiency,
Uh-huh.
and maybe even create entirely new industries.
Right.
But it also raises serious questions about the future of work, economic inequality,
Right.
and what happens when those who control these powerful AIs decide to play by their own rules.
Yeah, okay, that's the scary part.
There are definitely ethical considerations.
Okay, so ACI check. What about these large language models, or LLMs, we keep hearing about?
Ah, yes, LLMs.
What are those, and how do they fit into this picture?
Think of LLMs as the wordsmiths of the AI world. They're trained on massive data sets of text and code,
Wow.
capable of everything from writing different kinds of creative content,
Like what?
poems, scripts, even code,
No kidding.
to answering your questions in a way that's eerily human-like.
Okay, that's both impressive and a little unsettling.
They're pretty wild.
On one hand, you have the potential for AI-generated art, music, literature,
Right.
even personalized education tailored to how you learn best.
It's amazing.
But on the other hand, well, we've all seen those deepfake videos.
Ah, yes, the dark side of LLMs.
Is that what Suleiman is getting at with LLMs?
Exactly.
Right.
He talks about how these LLMs, as impressive as they are,
Yeah.
could be used to manipulate on a massive scale.
Give me an example.
Imagine hyper-realistic deepfakes, eroding trust in everything from elections to scientific research,
Whoa, wow.
or AI-generated propaganda campaigns sowing discord and inciting violence.
It's a chilling thought.
It is, and it's a real possibility.
It's like that saying, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Arthur C. Clarke.
Except in this case, it's not magic, it's algorithms.
Right.
And the consequences of misusing them could be devastating.
No doubt about it.
And it's not just about malicious actors using LLMs for nefarious purposes.
Right.
There's also the very real possibility of these models being used to create filter bubbles on steroids.
Oh, yeah.
Echo chambers,
Huh.
where our own biases are reflected back at us.
It's a recipe for disaster.
making it even harder to discern truth from fiction.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got AI that can strategize like a CEO,
Right.
AI that can write and create like a poet,
Uh-huh.
and AI that can manipulate and deceive. Like, well, let's just say it's a good thing I'm not paranoid.
It's a lot to process.
But what about synthetic biology?
Ah, yes, synthetic
Where
biology.
does that fit into this equation?
It's a big one.
Is it as potentially transformative as AI?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Think of it this way. If AI is about teaching machines to think,
Right.
synthetic biology is about hacking the code of life itself.
Hacking the code of life. Okay, now that's a phrase that gets your attention.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
What does that actually mean?
We're talking about scientists gaining the ability to design and manipulate biological organisms with incredible precision.
Really?
Yeah, remember the Human Genome Project?
Vaguely.
It took over a decade and billions of dollars to map the human genome.
Wow.
Today, you can get your entire genome sequenced for a few $100.
No kidding.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
So what's next?
We're on the verge of a revolution where scientists can essentially program organisms like we program computers,
Wow.
with the potential to revolutionize healthcare, agriculture,
Okay.
and even how we think about evolution itself.
Program organisms like computers.
It's wild, right?
Okay. I need a minute to process that.
Waste your time.
So we could potentially engineer bacteria that eat plastic pollution,
It's possible.
crops that thrive in drought conditions,
They're working on it.
even personalized medicine tailored to your unique genetic makeup.
That's the holy grail.
It's like something out of Star Trek.
It's getting closer all the time.
So what could possibly go wrong?
Right.
I mean, besides the obvious, like creating a superweed or something.
Well, that's a legitimate concern.
I know, right?
But the risks go far beyond accidental release.
Okay, like what?
Imagine a world where bioweapons are easier to create than traditional weapons,
Oh, no.
where rogue states or terrorist organizations could engineer deadly pathogens with frightening ease.
Okay, now that's scary.
And then there's the whole issue of gain-of-function research,
What's that?
where scientists intentionally make viruses more dangerous in an attempt to understand and prevent future pandemics.
Intentionally.
It's controversial,
I bet it is.
but it's happening.
Wow, I'm starting to understand why this book is called The Coming Wave.
It's an apt title.
This isn't just a ripple of progress.
Nope.
This is a tsunami of technological change,
It's going to be huge.
with the potential to reshape everything about our world, from the way we live to the very definition of what it means to be human.
It's a whole new world.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Ready for the final wave.
You know, we've spent all this time talking about AI,
It's a big one.
synthetic biology,
Hacking the code of life, no less.
technologies that sound like they belong in science fiction, and yet here they are, right? On the
Yeah.
verge of reshaping our reality.
Science fiction is becoming science fact.
It's both awe-inspiring and, if I'm being honest, a little terrifying.
I get it.
But what really stuck with me, and maybe this is just me, but there's this sense that this isn't just happening to us, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Like, there are forces, incentives driving this wave.
Totally. It's not random.
What I found insightful is that Seligman doesn't shy away from the complexities here.
Yeah.
He doesn't just point a finger at a few tech giants or governments and say they're the problem.
Instead, he presents a more nuanced view, acknowledging the forces that are pushing this technology forward, forces that are deeply intertwined with our desire for progress, for solving the world's biggest challenges.
Okay, so it's less about good guys versus bad guys and more about recognizing the systems and incentives that are shaping this technological landscape.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are those forces? What's fueling this relentless drive toward technological advancement?
Well, let's start with the obvious. Money.
Of course.
Trillions of dollars are being poured into AI, synthetic biology, robotics, all promising massive returns for investors and those who can crack the code, so to speak.
Right.
It's the gold rush of the 21st century.
I can see that.
And everyone wants a piece of the pie.
That's not exactly surprising, is it? I mean, greed and innovation, they often go hand in hand.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But it's not just about money, right?
Not even close.
Yeah.
There's also the allure of national advantage. In a world where technological dominance increasingly translates to geopolitical power, governments are pouring resources into these fields, hoping to gain an edge over their rivals.
Oh, so it's an arms race.
It's a global arms race, but instead of tanks and missiles, we're talking about algorithms and gene editing tools.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've got the profit motive,
Uh-huh.
you've got the geopolitical chess game driving things forward.
Right.
Anything else adding fuel to this fire?
Ironically, it's our desire to solve the world's biggest problems.
Okay, how so?
Climate change, food security, pandemics, aging populations.
Big problem.
These are existential threats.
Right.
And increasingly, we're looking to technology for solutions.
It's a cruel irony, isn't it? We need these technological breakthroughs to solve the very problems our relentless pursuit of progress has created.
It's the paradox of our time.
So where does that leave us? Are we just clinging to a surfboard, hoping we don't get crushed by this wave? Or does Suleiman offer any solutions?
He does offer solutions,
Okay.
but he's very clear that there are no easy answers.
Right.
He dismisses the idea of simply banning or halting technological development as unrealistic.
Okay, I mean, you can't just put the genie back in the bottle.
You can't just put the genie back in the bottle.
Right.
Instead, he argues for what he calls a containment strategy,
Okay.
a multi-layered approach that requires a fundamental shift in how we think about and manage these powerful technologies.
A containment strategy. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What exactly does that look like? Give me the blueprints.
Well, it starts with the people creating these technologies.
The technologists themselves.
Suleiman argues that technologists have a moral obligation to prioritize safety and ethical considerations.
Okay.
He proposes stricter licensing requirements for those working on cutting-edge AI, synthetic biology, and other potentially dangerous technologies.
So, like a driver's license, but for people who can rewrite the code of life.
Exactly. You wouldn't want just anyone getting behind the wheel of a self-driving car, let alone a technology that could potentially create a supervirus.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
He also talks about the need for more robust auditing mechanisms, independent oversight,
Okay.
and something called red teaming, essentially. Ethical hackers who are paid to find vulnerabilities in systems before they could be exploited by malicious actors.
So, like a digital immune system.
Exactly.
Okay, so I've got guardrails for the developers.
Right.
What about the role of governments? Can they really regulate something as fast-moving and complex as this technological wave?
Suleiman acknowledges that traditional reactive regulation, waiting for something to go wrong before taking action, simply won't cut it in this new reality.
Right.
He argues for a more proactive approach, where governments invest heavily in research to understand the potential consequences of these technologies before they're widely deployed.
Get ahead of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
He also calls for greater transparency from tech companies and for international cooperation to address the global nature of these challenges.
Transparency and cooperation.
Two things that seem to be in short supply these days.
Exactly, but I get it.
It's tough, but it's essential.
It's like that old saying, it takes a village, except in this case, the village is the entire world, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
That's a great way to put it.
And here's the thing, Suleiman doesn't just leave it up to the experts and policymakers, right?
Right.
He argues that we as citizens have a crucial role to play.
We all have a stake in this.
He calls for greater public awareness about these technologies, their potential benefits, and their risks.
Knowledge is power.
So it's not about becoming experts ourselves,
Right.
but about being informed enough to ask the right questions, demand accountability,
Exactly.
and participate in the conversation about how these technologies are developed and deployed.
We need a seat at the table.
It's about taking ownership, isn't it? Recognizing that this isn't just something happening to us, it's something we are all in some way shaping.
We are the architects of our own future.
You know, when we started this deep dive, I have to admit, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed, maybe even a little hopeless.
It's a lot to process.
It is, but what you've helped me understand is that this isn't a foregone conclusion.
It's not.
It's a call to action.
It is.
It's a reminder that the future isn't something that just happens to us.
We have a choice.
It's something we make through the choices we make today.
Every single day.
So, to our listeners out there, we ask you, what role will you play in shaping this coming wave?
The future is unwritten.
Let's write it together.